The day had begun like any other at the Confederation's Ra Academy of Xenological Studies. Miss Ricky nervously adjusted her sensory antennae while organizing her notes on human biology for the third time. Her tactile appendages trembled slightly at the thought of the questions her students, hailing from the most diverse intergalactic species, would ask about those enigmatic creatures called humans. As a senior professor of Earth studies, she had already covered the simpler aspects of human culture, their primitive combustion-powered vehicles, their curious preference for covering their bodies with decorative fabrics, and their seemingly chaotic social rituals. But today, she would have to delve into the deepest and most disturbing mysteries of the species, their own biology. The amphitheater was beginning to fill with the murmurs of her students. She could identify the metallic clicks of the arthropodians, the ethereal whispers of the Vaporeans, and the heavy dragging sounds of the Petrosians. Each species brought its own perspective on the universe, but they all shared the same morbid fascination with the biological paradoxes of humans. Miss Ricky activated the holographic projector, revealing a three-dimensional image of a human specimen at rest. The room's sensors immediately detected a rise in her students' anxiety pheromones. Even a simple projection of a sleeping human was enough to trigger instinctive reactions in other species. A young crystallian raised her sensory appendage, her faceted surface shimmering with curiosity. "Professor, is it true that humans need to enter a state of unconsciousness regularly to maintain their vital functions? How has such a vulnerable species managed to survive?" The question made Miss Ricky smile internally. If only the student knew how the frozen state of human sleep was just the tip of the iceberg. Miss Ricky's tentacles danced over the control console, enlarging the image to display the body temperature patterns of a resting human. Before we discuss their peculiarities of sleep, we need to understand something fundamental. Humans are a walking contradiction in thermoregulation. A murmur of surprise rippled through the room. The campus's external alarm sounded in the distance, marking the official start of class. Miss Ricky watched with satisfaction as her students settled into their study stations, completely unaware that the revelations of that day would forever change their understanding not only of human biology, but of the very definition of intelligent life in the universe. Observe this. Miss Ricky projected a sequence of videos showing humans in various sleeping situations. The images revealed soldiers sleeping amid artillery explosions, students dozing off in noisy libraries, and workers resting near heavy machinery. The students of the Confederation's Ra watched in fascination, their various forms of perception struggling to process what seemed to be a complete violation of natural laws. A Quantarian student, whose consciousness existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions, raised 3 of his dimensional appendages in confusion. "But Professor, how can a species evolve while ignoring basic danger signals during its most vulnerable state?" The question lingered in the air as Miss Ricky manipulated the controls to display more data on the chaotic biology of humans. "The question becomes even more intriguing," she continued, her tentacles performing a complex dance of scientific excitement. "When we consider that these same humans, capable of sleeping through an orbital bombardment, can be instantly awakened by a simple sound-emitting device called an alarm." The screens now displayed various models of alarm clocks, from primitive mechanical ones to modern neural devices. The phenomenon of human awakening was one of the most baffling aspects for the intergalactic scientific community. Miss Ricky projected graphs showing how other species maintained precise circadian cycles, waking naturally at the necessary moment. In contrast, human data resembled a chaotic storm of irregular patterns and biological contradictions. But the true mystery, Miss Ricky paused for dramatic effect, noting how her students leaned forward at their stations, is not that they need external alarms. It's that these same beings, who can ignore explosions and deafening noises while asleep, have developed an almost religious relationship with the ritual of waking up. The images now showed humans interacting with their alarms in inexplicable ways. Some kept multiple devices, others developed elaborate 5 more minutes rituals. A floating nebulonian emitted a pulse of curious light. They seemed to fight, against their own bodies. Miss Riki nodded with her upper tentacles. Exactly. While our species evolved to synchronize perfectly with natural cycles, humans seem to exist in a constant state of war with their own biology. And the most surprising thing is that this war has apparently made them stronger. The screens now displayed comparative data on different species within the Confederation. Notice how other spacefaring races require specific conditions for effective rest, controlled environments, absolute silence, regulated temperature. Humans? They have turned their apparent deficiency into an extraordinary evolutionary advantage, the ability to rest in practically any situation, but wake up precisely when needed through a simple sound signal. Miss Riki adjusted the holographic projection to show the interior of a typical human bedroom at night. Thermal sensors revealed a gradient of colors that made several of her students instinctively recoil. "What you are observing," she explained, her tentacles undulating in a pattern that indicated scientific perplexity, "is perhaps one of the most illogical aspects of human thermoregulation during sleep." A murmur of confusion spread through the room as temperature data was displayed. The readings showed an artificially cooled environment at levels many species would consider hostile to life. However, the most intriguing part was not just the room's temperature, but the paradoxical behavior that followed. "Observe," Miss Riki continued, "how they deliberately lower the temperature of their sleeping environment to near cryogenic levels, only to immediately wrap themselves in multiple layers of insulating material." A plasmoid student, whose body was composed of pure energy contained within a force field, manifested her confusion through chromatic oscillations. "Professor, this seems energetically inefficient. Why would a species develop a behavior that wastes resources?" Miss Riki expanded the projection, now displaying a time-lapse sequence of a human during a full cycle of cold sleep. "The answer, my dear students, lies in the complex dance between human chaotic biology and their environment. While our species seek thermal equilibrium, humans seem to thrive in imbalance." The data on the screen illustrated how human metabolism shifted throughout this nightly ritual, revealing patterns that defied conventional theories of energy conservation. The next set of images revealed something even more surprising. Human couples sharing the same sleeping space. Notice how they maintain different coverage preferences even while sharing the same cooled environment. One partner may be completely wrapped in insulating layers, while the other remains partially exposed to the cold air. The students watched in fascination as humans appeared to find comfort in this apparent thermal chaos. A crystallian, whose body naturally regulated temperature through changes in its crystalline structure, projected a light pattern indicating deep perplexity. But how do they not go into thermal shock? Miss Riki manipulated the controls to reveal even more detailed data on human physiology during sleep. That is precisely where the most intriguing mystery lies. Not only do they survive these extreme temperature fluctuations, but they seem to require this cycle for proper rest. Her tentacles performed a complex sequence as she adjusted the projection to display a new set of data. And if that wasn't perplexing enough, just wait until you see how this apparent thermal instability relates to another unique aspect of human biology, their ability to function as literal walking furnaces. If you found it fascinating how humans manipulate the cold, Miss Riki adjusted the holographic projector's controls with her tentacles. Just wait until you discover why they need such cold environments to sleep. The image displayed a series of thermal readings from different species in the Zra Confederation, culminating in a human glowing like a miniature star in the infrared spectrum. A Glacian student, whose species thrived in temperatures close to absolute zero, emitted surprise crystals upon seeing the data. "Professor, this cannot be correct. According to these readings, an average human generates more heat than a portable fusion reactor." Miss Riki expanded the graph, her tentacles trembling with scientific excitement. "The data is absolutely correct. And my dear students, this is only the beginning of the surprises." The next sequence of images displayed something that made several students adjust their perception sensors. Interspecies couples in domestic settings. Observe how species that normally require artificial heating systems comfortably survive alongside their human companions. The data showed how human thermoregulation positively affected their alien partners, creating a perfect microclimate for species that needed higher temperatures. In fact, Miss Ricky projected an energy efficiency graph, several space stations have begun incorporating humans into their thermal regulation systems. A single human can reduce the energy consumption of a habitation module by up to 23%. The students watched in amazement as images displayed humans working in critical sectors, their bodies functioning as living furnaces to keep sensitive equipment at optimal temperatures. A Vaporeon, gently floating in its gaseous form, partially condensed out of curiosity. But how do they manage to maintain this constant heat production without spontaneously combusting? The question triggered a wave of agreement vibrations across the room. Miss Ricky expanded the projection to display the complex human circulatory system and its heat dissipation mechanisms. This is yet another proof of the extraordinary adaptability of human biology, she explained, showing how the human perspiration system worked in conjunction with their heat production. They have developed a unique evaporative cooling method that, ironically, makes them even more efficient as biological heaters. The very mechanism that prevents their overheating also serves to regulate the temperature of their surroundings with surprising precision. The screens now displayed long-term data on interspecies relationships. But the true impact of this unique trait goes far beyond simple thermoregulation. Human body heat has proven to be a crucial factor in establishing emotional bonds with other species, creating a form of nonverbal communication that transcends biological barriers. Miss Ricky paused meaningfully, her tentacles moving in a pattern that suggested anticipation. And speaking of nonverbal communication, Miss Ricky dimmed the amphitheater's lights and activated the safety atmospheric filters, a standard procedure when discussing human pheromones. "What I am about to share with you," she began, her tentacles moving in a pattern indicating scientific caution, "is considered sensitive information by the Zra Confederation. Most intergalactic species prefer not to openly discuss the emotional impact that humans have on us." The holographic projection displayed a series of complex molecules, dancing in the air like microscopic constellations. These are just a few of the hundreds of chemical compounds that a sleeping human unconsciously releases. A crystalline student began vibrating at anxious frequencies upon recognizing some of the molecular patterns. "Yes," Miss Ricky confirmed. "These are the same molecules that caused the Proxima Centauri incident." During frozen sleep, she continued, manipulating the controls to show a human in different sleep cycle stages. The human body enters a unique state of chemical production. Their glands release a pheromone cocktail so potent that we require special filtration protocols in all facilities where humans rest. The data on the screen showed how different species reacted to these chemical emissions, ranging from panic responses to states of hypnotic fascination. A Vaporeon, who had partially condensed due to the intensity of the discussion, emitted a pulse of curious light. "Is that why we need 3 months of acclimatization before we can work with humans?" Miss Ricky projected a time graph showing the adaptation process of different species. "Exactly. And even after acclimatization, many races still experience significant reactions to human awakening. Observe this record." She activated a video sequence showing an interspecies dormitory during the morning cycle. The students watched in fascination as the predatory species in the environment began displaying instinctive hunting behaviors minutes before the human woke up, while prey-classified species sought hiding spots or escape routes. The most remarkable thing is that the human remains completely unaware of all this chemical chaos they provoke. Miss Ricky's tentacles performed a complex sequence as she accessed more recent records. The Confederation has discovered that this unique trait of human biology has surprising applications. Some space stations now use humans in deep sleep as biological alarm systems, as their pheromones can alert other species to dangers even before mechanical sensors detect them. A warning light flashed on Miss Ricky's console. Anxiety levels in the room were rising beyond acceptable limits. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this unique trait, she adjusted the atmospheric filters to maximum power, is how it relates to another mystery of human biology, their seemingly limitless physical strength.